It was early 1943. World War II had reached a boiling point. The Allies had pushed German forces out of North Africa, and now they needed to strike the next blow, a full-scale invasion of Europe. But where? The logical target was obvious: Sicily. It was the gateway to mainland Italy, Hitler's soft underbelly. From Sicily, Allied forces could launch attacks northward and cripple the Axis powers from within. And that was the problem. It was too obvious. Hitler knew it, Mussolini knew it, and every general with a map and a brain knew it. If the Allies invaded Sicily, the Nazis would be ready. British intelligence needed to plan something bold, deceptive, and totally unexpected. And in the dark, paranoid hallways of wartime London, someone proposed an idea so strange, so theatrical, so utterly ridiculous, it might just work. The plan was this: take a corpse, dress him up as a British officer, plant fake documents on him that reveal the secret Allied plan to invade Greece instead of Sicily. Then, let the body wash ashore in a place where German agents would be sure to find it. A dead man as a secret weapon. Most thought it was insane. Some thought it was cruel. But a small team inside British naval intelligence led by Ewan Montague and Charles Cholmondeley believed it could be the greatest con job of the war. And so, Operation Mincemeat was born. It would be a masterclass in deception, part spy novel, part horror story, part bureaucratic nightmare. Because before they could fool Hitler, they had to find the perfect corpse. They say history repeats itself, but what about the parts we forgot? Welcome to Echoes of History, the channel where we dig up the dusty corners of the past to uncover the weird, the wild, and the wait, what? Stories they didn't teach you in school. Grab your curiosity and maybe a cup of tea, because what you're about to hear might just change how you see the world. A corpse, that's how it had to begin. Not just any body, a believable one. One that looked like a young, healthy British officer who died suddenly in a plane crash at sea, his body washing ashore, with secrets meant only for the highest command. But where do you get a corpse like that? British intelligence quietly reached out to pathologists, coroners, and hospital contacts. All under the tide of secrecy, they finally found one, a young man who had died of pneumonia. His lungs full of fluid, perfect for faking a death by drowning. His real name, Glyndor Michael, a Welsh homeless man who had died alone and forgotten. No family, no history, no questions. The plan was to give him a second life and then a heroic death. If the Germans were going to believe it, every detail had to be perfect. The team created a full identity for him, naming him Major William Martin, Royal Marines. But just a uniform and dog tags wouldn't be enough. So they built his life from scratch. They filled his pockets with ordinary things: a theater ticket stub from London, a bank overdraft notice, a receipt for an engagement ring, a letter from his fictional fiancée, Pam, written in smudged blue ink with lipstick on the corner, a stern letter from his father, complaining about his spending habits, keys, cigarettes, matches, even a bill for a new shirt he never got to wear. This wasn't just attention to detail. This was psychological warfare built from buttons and bus tickets. Then came the piece de resistance, a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist, containing the fake top-secret letters. One was from Lieutenant General Sir Archibald Nye, Deputy Chief of the Imperial General Staff. The letter stated very clearly that the Allies would soon launch Operation Husky, a full-scale invasion of Greece and Sardinia, not Sicily. It was exactly the kind of document the Germans would kill. To read, every shoelace tied. But for it to work, the body had to look like a real plane crash victim lost at sea. So, British agents stored the corpse on ice, dressed it meticulously, and placed him in a watertight canister, ready to be released into the sea off the coast of neutral Spain, where German spies operated freely. Every hair had been combed. They weren't just sending a corpse. They were sending a performance, a ghost, wrapped in truth and lies, ready to change the course of a war. April 30th, 1943, pre-dawn, the HMS Seraph, a British submarine, surfaced quietly off the southern coast of Huelva, Spain. The crew emerged under strict orders: no noise, no mistakes, on deck. They carried the sealed canister inside, the body of Major William Martin, frozen in silence, handcuffed to his precious briefcase. With solemn care, they opened the container. The icy vapor hissed. The body was gently lowered into the water. A small inflatable life raft and a flare were attached to make it appear like a plane crash survivor who drifted ashore. Then, they left. By sunrise, the tide carried the corpse toward the Spanish coast. Now, Spain was officially neutral in World War II, but it was crawling with Nazi agents, particularly in Huelva. British intelligence knew this. In fact, that's why they chose this beach. The British, of course, pretended to be shocked and deeply concerned. They demanded the briefcase be returned and opened, top secret. They insisted of the highest priority. Sure enough, a local fisherman discovered the body that morning. Spanish authorities recovered the corpse and, following protocol, notified the British consulate. Behind closed doors, they hoped for the exact opposite, and it worked beautifully. The documents were carefully photocopied, studied, and then crucially returned to the case, along with the body. So the British wouldn't suspect a thing. The Spanish authorities, under pressure from both sides, quietly allowed German intelligence agents to access the briefcase. By mid-May, those fake letters were sitting on a desk in Berlin, in front of Adolf Hitler himself and the Führer. He bought it. He immediately diverted entire divisions, tanks, aircraft, thousands of soldiers away from Sicily, fortifying the wrong targets completely. Hitler became convinced the Allies were preparing to invade Greece, and Sardinia, not Sicily, was still to come. His grave remains there to this day, a stone marked with his fake name, overlooking the sea that carried him into legend. Meanwhile, the real invasion force was preparing to hit Sicily in full strength. The corpse had just fooled the Third Reich. Back in Spain, Major Martin was buried with full military honors. Operation Mincemeat had worked. But the war wasn't over yet, and the full impact of this morbid masterpiece. It was July 9, 1943. The largest amphibious invasion in history up to that point was about to begin. Over 160,000 Allied troops, supported by more than 3,000 ships and 4,000 aircraft, were heading towards Sicily. Their objective: secure the island, knock Italy out of the war, and open a direct route into Nazi-occupied Europe. But there was one critical question hanging there. Did the plan really work? Had the Germans truly taken the bait? The answer came quickly and dramatically. Thanks to Operation Mincemeat, Hitler had ordered the bulk of German reinforcements to Greece and Sardinia. Entire panzer divisions were sent away from Sicily. Fortifications on the island were left thin. Commanders were confused, unsure whether to expect a full invasion or just a feint. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. On the night of July 9th, Allied forces landed on the southern coast of Sicily. American and British troops stormed the beaches under cover of darkness. Despite fierce resistance, they made rapid progress inland. German commanders scrambled. Hitler was told repeatedly it must be a diversion. He refused to believe Sicily was the true target. Within weeks, they had secured most of the island. The real invasion is coming elsewhere, he said. The Italian people, exhausted by war and betrayal, rose up. On July 25th, Mussolini was arrested by his own government, but it never came. The fighting in Sicily was brutal, rugged terrain, intense heat, determined defenders, but the element of surprise gave the Allies a decisive advantage, and the effects rippled beyond the battlefield. The invasion of Sicily led directly to the fall of Mussolini. Italy would soon switch sides, joining the Allies and the Nazis. They lost a key defensive position, an ally, and thousands of troops, all because of a briefcase, a forged letter, and a dead man in uniform. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill would later write, "In war, truth is so precious that she should always be attended by a bodyguard of lies." In this case, the bodyguard wasn't a metaphor. He was real, dead, and devastatingly effective. Operation Mincemeat hadn't just worked, it had changed the shape of the war. In the months following the invasion of Sicily, it became clear Operation Mincemeat had worked beyond anyone's expectations. The Nazis had entirely misread the Allied plans. Their defensive preparations had been pointed at the wrong place, and their confusion allowed the Allies to push through Sicily faster than predicted. But here's what makes it even more fascinating. The Germans never realized they had been fooled. The letters, the details, the emotional tone, it all aligned with how real top-secret military communication looked to them. The intelligence retrieved from Major Martin seemed not only authentic, it was too perfect to be fake. Even months later, as the Allies advanced north through Italy, Hitler still believed that an invasion of Greece was imminent. He refused to redeploy troops from the Balkans. Entire German divisions sat idle, waiting for an invasion that would never come. In terms of deception, this wasn't just a win, it was a masterpiece. The story of Major William Martin became a footnote in naval records. His fake identity buried both figuratively and literally, and yet, almost no one knew about it. Operation Mincemeat remained classified for decades. Only a handful of high-ranking officials ever knew the full truth. That is, until 1953, when former intelligence officer Ewan Montague, one of the masterminds, was granted permission to publish a book titled The Man Who Never Was. The world finally learned about the dead man who had fooled Hitler. His gravestone in Waleville was updated that year. Inscribed with the haunting truth, it became a sensation. But even then, many of the details remained under wraps. The real name of the corpse, Galinder Michael, wasn't officially revealed until 1996. More than 50 years after his body washed ashore, Galinder Michael served as Major William Martin, a man who had died in obscurity, given a fictional life, and became one of the most successful spies in history without ever knowing it. To this day, intelligence agencies around the world still study Operation Mincemeat as a gold standard of wartime deception. It proved that in the age of radar, tanks, and bombers, the human mind remained the most powerful weapon of all. More than 80 years have passed since a dead man helped change the course of World War II. But Operation Mincemeat continues to echo through time, not just as a brilliant trick, but as a story of identity, deception, and the strange theater of war. What makes this tale so powerful isn't just that it worked, it's how it worked. Think about it. A man who had died in silence and poverty, forgotten by the world, was transformed into Major William Martin, complete with a fiancée, a bank account, a family, even a love letter in his pocket. He became, for a moment, more real than the living. He had no voice, no agency, no past. And yet, his life was constructed so meticulously that it manipulated the highest levels of Nazi command. Hitler himself believed in William Martin. That's not just a military success. That's psychological storytelling at its most devastating in the decades since. Operation Mincemeat has inspired books, documentaries, museum exhibits, and even Hollywood films, but no adaptation can fully capture the eerie beauty of the original deception, because at its core, this isn't just a spy story. It's a reflection on something deeper. How much of our identity is real, and how much of it is what others choose to believe. The real man, Glinger Michael, never knew what part he would play in history. He didn't choose it. He didn't benefit from it. But in death, he became a symbol of the strange and haunting machinery of war, where even a corpse can wear a uniform, carry fake secrets, and outsmart a dictator. Today, his grave still lies in the cemetery of Huelva, Spain. Pilgrims leave flowers, historians leave notes. Some simply pause, quietly stunned by what one lifeless man used like a chess piece was able to do. And maybe that's the final lesson of Operation Mincemeat. In war, truth may be precious, but sometimes it's the lie that saves lives. That's it for today's Forgotten Tale. If this story made you raise an eyebrow, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that dusty little bell so you never miss another echo from the past. Drop it in the comments. We're always listening for new echoes. Got a weird bit of history you think we should cover? Until next time, keep your curiosity loud and your history weird. That's it.